this is a journey. Yes, you're making Step Up 2 and people are going to judge you for that. Yes, you're going to make Step Up 3D. Now you're going to think that people lock you into only making dance. You're going to make a Justin Bieber documentary and people are going to laugh at you because they think you went backwards and to make a documentary. But you know what? You just keep walking. Every lesson built that next brick for me. And we built our own Yellow Brick Road to get to Wicked. And I know there's a long way ahead and I'm excited for that there will be movies that never work. There'll be movies that critics and audiences will hate me for. But you know what? I love making things.
Yeah.
And my journey is to continue to make things. And that's what I want to show my children through what I'm doing.
After you, Madame. Let's see. Oh. Maybe. Just this. Pink goes good with green.
Goes well with green.
It so does. Why, Miss Elphaba? Look at you. You're beautiful.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, well, he's riding high right now with the major musical hit, Wicked, which he, of course, directed. And his films include another big hit, Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, Step Up 2, The Street, Step Up 3D. There is a key theme running through all of these dance, maybe not Crazy Rich Asians, but
we got some dance in Crazy Rich Asians.
Dance,
it's lyrical.
definitely.
It's a lyrical piece.
Yeah, this is Jon M. Hi, welcome.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks.
And this is his first autobiography. I have a feeling there'll be more. It's called Viewfinder, and it's a wonderful memoir taking you sort of right up to where you were about to do Wicked.
Yeah.
And let me ask you right now, since I've got this in front of me, why did you decide to write a book at this very young age that you are?
Yeah, it's a crazy. I mean, I was working with Jeremy McCarter, who's my co-author in this, and he was doing the behind the scenes of In the Heights, and we just started talking about my life. He started meeting my family. And this idea of growing up in the Silicon Valley, where sort of the birth of the computer and everything was happening when I was growing up, 80s and 90s, and then making that transition into Hollywood and thinking I'm running away from that world.
Right.
And then during In the Heights, that world was starting to crash into our world, like fully, with streaming. So that, as we talked about those things, it just became more and more relevant. And I really wanted something, there's so many creators out there, young creators, and they're gonna go through a lot of ups and downs, and we really need their voices. So hopefully this gives a little bit of a hint, a little map of what they're gonna go through to become a storyteller, movie maker eventually.
Oh, well, it definitely does. And you had your own mini studio when you were growing up at home, employing
Something
your
like
family and you're one of five, the youngest.
I'm the youngest of five,
And you have 5 kids now, too.
And now I have 5 kids,
Was
just
that
as of 3 weeks ago.
symmetry for you? Or you decided, okay, I grew up in a family of 5 kids, I'm going to have 5 kids.
I don't know if that was on purpose, but it does feel nice to have that 5th one and be like, all right, this is the one? Come on, let's go.
So you used him to make all these little shorts and movies.
Yeah.
I know you sent out for editing equipment, which I love, because I did that at one point, too. I was going to be John Chu, but it didn't work out.
You're even greater. Awesome.
Yeah, it's like I had my Super 8 camera and everything.
I love that.
But,
It's so great. Yeah.
But what inspired you to do this?
Being around a family, you're the youngest, you're fighting for food every night. They're putting it on and you better get there fast enough. And I grew up in a Chinese restaurant. My parents own the restaurant. They still do. 55 years later, they still work there. And I remember they gave me the camera to carry for our family trips. And shooting that and then getting the editing equipment was a revelation. I loved to draw, but I wasn't the best drawer. I loved to play music. I wasn't the best musician. But something about editing and using the camera, it all sort of brought those things together, those little pieces of knowledge and being around the chaos of a family. And I showed my family a video that I made of our vacation and they started to cry. And I remember thinking, whoa, this thing is a very powerful expression. And I couldn't stop. doing it. I just kept doing it and making it and making it. So
Wow.
had no idea where it would lead, but I loved the process of making
Well, it led to USC, among
Yes.
other things.
Yes.
And led to a short that got you an agent, William Morris.
Yes, yep. Got Rob Carlson over when he's still my agent to this day. It was a musical short at USC. They had told me, don't do a musical, don't write a musical. It's dead. This is in 2000, before Chicago, and was out. And then when Chicago hit, and I had a short musical.
Yeah.
It all sort of rode together. Everyone was like, who makes musicals these days? And there was this short from this student at USC, so I felt very
And
lucky.
so perfect timing for
crazy
you.
timing,
Yeah, it's interesting too that Spielberg had a similar kind of thing. He made those shorts. Of course, The Fablemans is all about that and
Yes.
everything too.
Yes.
And your paths crossed.
Yes,
And you got to
yes.
meet your idol, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and now
my
here-
daughter, my latest daughter is named Stevie Sky.
Oh, really?
You know, I will neither confirm nor deny which Steve she's named after, but you know.
I love it. Well, here he is giving you a nice shout out
That's
on
very
the
nice.
back of your book.
That's
This
very
is
nice.
like incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's the master. He's the GOAT. And the fact that he even knows my name is an honor. So, yeah.
And now you've got a whole relationship. Has he seen Wicked?
He has seen Wicked.
Yeah.
We showed him on the Universal lot, and that was the most nerve-wracking 2 hours and 40 minutes of my life.
Is that right? Oh.
Because, you know, he's watching that and you're like, oh gosh, he's seeing every seam in this. And what is he going to say? He has to be kind, I'm sure, after, but does he really? But we sat there for 45 minutes after. He asked me all sorts of questions. I love that he loves filmmaking in
Right.
every way and asking me questions about it, which is crazy. And it was so nice.
I'm not surprised that he asked you questions about it because he just made in his stellar career his first musical,
Yeah.
West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one genre he hadn't hit.
Yeah.
You have repeatedly
Mm-hmm.
shown how to do it now. I think particularly in a time where, as you said, musicals were dead. They always said they're dead. If one comes out and it doesn't do well, Cats killed the whole thing. You know.
Yeah.
But here you are at the same studio that had Mamma Mia, and that also was a big hit. So they were back with that.
Yeah.
And now Wicked has really brought
crazy.
them back.
It's crazy. I mean, everyone always declares the musical dead, but it is something about the musical that maybe it's an American thing, maybe it's that the genre, especially in cinema, has this power that where words aren't enough, and especially in this day and age, dialogue, words just don't express how we're feeling. That movement and music gives us that way of expression, and also musicals were always a little bit subversive.
Right.
No matter how bubbly and jazz hands they had, like the great ones always said something about the moment that they were built. So yeah.
One of the things I loved it, and I actually pointed it out in my review because it really struck me. I had seen the stage show Wicked. I didn't hit me in that.
Yeah.
But boy, did it hit me in your movie.
Thank
It's
you.
very politically relevant. We're
Yeah.
seeing some very important stuff said in this, particularly the animals of Oz and
Yeah.
what happens to them and the oppression and all of this going on.
Yeah.
It really mirrors society now in ways we don't really expect from, a big musical entertainment like that.
Yeah, I think that when it came to me, it was during COVID, the lockdown, and I just in the Heights, I just in Crazy Rich Asians, I was going through my own storytelling, especially now a new father. I was like, I only want to do things that mean something. How important like story is to kids growing up and what we want to tell them. And I don't want them to tell the same story that we've heard when we were kids because things have changed. And was Wicked urgent enough to be made now? I didn't know. And so I started going through the text again and I read those words from Elphaba in Defying Gravity. And she says, something has changed within me. Something's not the same. And just those words alone, I felt a stirring. Like that's how the whole world feels right now in lockdown. Like we are entering a new place
Right.
and we don't know where we're headed. There's no wizard behind the curtain. We are on our own,
Yeah.
and we have to save ourselves. And that fear of that, you're either going to run from it,
Yeah.
and you're going to pretend nothing's happening and put on your blinders, or you're going to confront it. And Elphaba's journey to confront those things and to stand up for it was something that was very powerful to me at the time. I felt like we needed, and the cinema could really do that. They had, casting a woman of color as Elphaba, specifically Cynthia Erivo, would change all the meaning. I mean, when she came in, it was very clear that the words that I had heard many, many times were different coming from her mind. And also Glinda for Ariana, we all want to be Elphaba,
Right.
but in a weird way, we're all Galinda.
Yeah.
We don't know what decision we're going to make. Are we going to stay in our privileged bubble, or are we going to pop it? And that journey was really interesting. So all those things felt for me urgent, and that we could bring something new to this musical that had been around for 20 years, bring something very new to its spirit.
And boy, have you ever, 11 Critics' Choice nominations that it got, including for you as director.
That was very
and
nice.
what I like too is I'm in that group, but screenplay, musicals don't often get recognized for their screenplays.
That's what I've heard now that we were going through it. Yes. It's really interesting. It's crazy.
I mean, it's like kind of rare that they ever win. I think Gigi was the only one that ever won. And that was an original musical. It wasn't based on the Broadway one.
Yeah.
But anyway, to have all of this happening, all the Golden Globe nominations, Best Picture and everything, did you have any idea? Because Wicked was a big hit on Broadway. There's no question. So.
Yeah. And, no, I had no idea. We knew that we were going in there to do something. Everyone would be like, "Oh, you're just making Wicked, right? Just have fun with it." But Cynthia, Ari, myself, Mark, Stephen, we knew there was something new to be said. We knew it was so emotional on set every day. I mean, you see the girls crying now because we cried every day on set. It felt like we were exhaling something. And so for us, it was very important. And we didn't know if we were crazy or not. We didn't know are we taking ourselves way too seriously? But it feels very, very relevant. And so it was always a sense of, in a weird way, a coup within us. We were making an art piece inside of this form. Never thought that actually where we would be when we came out of, when the movie would come out, where we were. In a weird way, it's validation that what we were sniffing, what we were feeling wasn't just us. It was a feeling that was all around the world.
Yeah.
It was a tone, a mood, more than just even the music itself. It was something we were expressing that I think people are trying to find words or ways to express, and maybe this movie has that effect. I see the people doing it on the internet, doing the dances.
Oh my God, that's
picking it
totally
apart.
viral now, that dance.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
For you as a, someone so invested in dance and film, that's got to be cool to see it now going viral.
Yeah, especially for Christopher Scott, our choreographer, who I've worked with for 15 years. He was in Step Up to the Streets, my first movie.
Oh, wow.
And we did a bunch of things called the Legion of Extraordinary Dancers. And Alice Brooks, I went to college with. She shot my musical short 20-something years ago. And she did the LXD with me, all those dance numbers. So the fact that we get to do this at this scale is just, it's a dream come true. They say, bring your friends.
Yeah.
Because that's the best, and it's absolutely the best. We get to think back of all the steps that we took, all the movies we made, all the movies that people laughed at, all the things that we learned, the mistakes that built up to this. It was probably our hardest project ever to get up.
Yeah, I feel out there's something uniquely special when you get the reactions. I mean, people, I went to something that was honoring Jessica Chastain last week. And I went over to talk to her at a table, and we're just talking about, here, you're getting this big honor, American Cinematheque, all this stuff. And she says, oh, my God, I just saw Wicked. She just brought this up out of the blue. I didn't ask her. She's not in it. And so, and she goes, I just saw it. I didn't go the first weekend. I couldn't get tickets. I actually went at 8:30 in the morning. And she said, my God, Cynthia Erivo. I've never seen anything like that. She said, I've done stunts and things in there. To see her singing live, Wired, however that was done.
Yes.
She blew people like Jessica Chastain away, just bringing it up out of the blue.
It blew us away watching it. She's being spun on a thing, and she's singing, and we can't hear the music because it's in her in-ears. I have a can that I can hear it, but most people can't hear it, and so her voice is echoing through the sound stage. That has a power to it, but honestly, it's not even that I think people are being taken away. It's the small things. It's the silence. It's the restraint of her performance. It's
right.
To me, those two of them, that relationship is just so true, and I think we need truth right now, and we're searching for that. So I don't know what it is, but it's catching like fire, and it's been really beautiful.
Yeah, it's already the highest grossing musical movie of all time. Already.
It's nuts.
And this is actually part one. You're not saying it's part one here. It's Wicked. And it does hold. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And really, if I didn't know that this was being turned into 2 movies, the show, I would just think this is Wicked.
Great.
It really is. I'm not going to give away anything, if you haven't seen it yet. But it logically ends in a way that's interesting.
Great.
And, I didn't feel like, oh, okay, now I got to go see part 2.
That was our biggest fear the whole time is if we're going to split this, and that's going to be a choice on me coming into this, then I better deliver what you want from a movie. You know, they always say, so you're like a theater kid. I'm like, no, I'm actually a movie kid, but I'm theater kid adjacent. Those were all my friends. So I have the appreciation and love for that stuff. It influenced me. So when I look at this, and I was like, this has to, if this is gonna, we don't have the room to fit all of this in one movie. Otherwise it's not gonna be Wicked anymore.
Right.
So let's do it Wicked justice. And if it's gonna end on Defying Gravity, we knew, I mean, it's the greatest gift in the world to have Defying Gravity as your end. And what movie actually structures to like take you off right at the end? I mean, very few movies, I don't think I would even construct that on my own to say, oh, that's how we're going to end a movie. Yeah. But we had this thing and say, okay, if that's what we need the audience to root for and to want and yearn the whole movie, that needs to be the most satisfying thing, then we have to move backwards into the movie and actually fill in the gaps to get us to root for that the whole. So, you know, you start to ask yourself then, all right, well then what's Elphaba's actual power? Is the broomstick pulling her? Right. Because the broomstick pulling her, then there's nothing we're rooting for. Okay, so it has to come from her. Oh, what's her relationship with nature? Oh, she loves these animals because she's very connected with nature that's different than, oh, so she has a relationship with gravity. Okay, then where do we see that? Oh, when we had to show her as a child, and she has to have that power. When she wants to protect someone, she calls on gravity to help do that. Yeah. And then you see, oh, then she has to show a little bit of lift in Wizard and I to show that she does have that ability. She's just not ready to do that. So we had to put all these little pick points in there to really allow this movie to feel like one. So if you didn't like musicals, don't know musicals at all, or loved Wicked and didn't want to be split in two, you would feel satisfied by the end. So it was a lot of all the time trying to figure out, making sure that emotionally we got there. We earned it, you know.
So, 2.
Yes.
Which we're going to see in a year.
Yes.
It's coming out. I mean, this Universal's got to be just like sending Fort Knox to you right
They got to. Just one car. All they need to send is one car. Didn't they used to do that? They sold to like Mel Gibson when he had a hit. No.
You've given him another gift for next year. I mean, so is that, you know, that is going to be just as long as this one, or is it, you know?
We're working on it now. I mean, I cut both of them at the same time last year, so I could watch both of them back to back. And wait until that happens. It's a doozy to see both. And I put it to bed. I needed to know that every scene in one had an intention for 2, and we put that to bed. And I just opened it up last week, so I'm sure it's gonna get. You know, we're tweaking and doing all the things, so we'll see what the length is ultimately. But we'll do it as to serve the story as best as possible.
To serve the story, and then eventually, you're right. You just mentioned, you know, you see them together.
I mean,
like they are joined.
I'm maybe one of 5 people who've seen it together.
Wow.
Yes, that reality when it hits is going to be really fun.
But you have expanded Wicked clearly, because the play was, I don't know how long it was, but it was like as long as this, the first one, but it wasn't certainly too big.
It just became very clear that you needed the room. I mean, you watch Defying Gravity in itself, and that was scary to break up that song because people are used to how the song is connected and that momentum. And we did versions where you cut out all the spaces and just did it, and it didn't have the impact because, you know, when Cynthia's singing live, you have to have the space for her to say something has changed within me, something's not the same. Like give her that. So we had a live piano, so she could find her own tempo, and those breaths, those moments where Glinda goes and gets the sheet and she ties it around, and you have to watch them look at each other because they're saying, even though it's the same words, in all the in-between spaces, that's where our movies come into life because they're saying volumes to each other. You're gonna be okay. Whatever's happening, she's tying it like she's tying the bow tie of a son going to prom, and they're leaving each other. And I think those are the moments that people are really grabbing onto, no matter how much you know about the musical. So that just required more time. I mean, we tried to also do like the 2-hour version, the hour and 45-minute version, and we tried to really protect the audience as much as possible. And it just became very clear that each moment was important to the next. And so anyway, that's you know.
Well, the show opened 2003, 20 years ago or whatever, and there's been all kinds of, when's the movie coming? Stephen Daldry was involved. There's all kinds of filmmakers, you know, different ways it could have gone, and it landed in your lap, I think right at the right time. But you were a huge fan of Wicked.
Yeah, I saw it before it went on Broadway, when it was in San Francisco, because we grew up there, and my parents would take us to shows every weekend. I was going to US maybe my freshman or sophomore year at USC. My mom called me and said, hey, there's a new Stephen Schwartz show. My mom hadn't been able to go to theater for a year. She was going through chemo. So I was like, all right, I'm coming. So I flew back. It was a beautiful experience for me and my mother, watching the Stephen Schwartz musical about the Wizard of Oz, which had such an important part. My parents are immigrants. The Wizard of Oz is everything to the story of America, to the American dream. And we watched it and we're just floored. And as I'm watching it, as I'm learning the tools of cinema at school, it's piecing together like, holy crap. This is going to be an amazing movie. I can't wait to watch it one day for somebody. Like whoever does it, this is going to be amazing. But because I was sort of patient zero, like I didn't have any context for it before, I remember very specific moments of that showing of it that I knew when we were developing it with Stephen and Winnie, that those are the areas I need to protect, the most pure moments. So I think I had an advantage because I had that head start on it before.
I mean, remarkable. I love in the book too the reference to Wizard of Oz that you have. There's a little phrase you quote, Glinda, all you do is follow the yellow brick road. Dorothy says, but what happens if Glinda cuts her off. Glinda, just follow the yellow brick road. That's right here in the beginning, which indicates to me, any author or anything, this is key for you. You're following the yellow brick road.
Yeah, following it. But also what's interesting about that quote is that Dorothy's getting cut off. And she's saying, but what about, and Glinda's like, no, follow the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
And how interesting that is, that our whole lives we're told, just close your eyes, follow the yellow brick road. You will get there if you just follow this road. No need to be scared, no need to have fear, don't get angry, just follow the yellow brick road, and there'll be a man on the other side of that curtain that will give you all your heart's desire. And I think as I'm growing up, as I'm a father now, as I went through this business and broke into it, as I'm leaving the Bay Area and leaving my family and the stories that they told us, which were really beneficial as a young person with no power, of who you have to prove yourself to, how you have to act at dinner, how you have to be, and those are very helpful. But as you get through life, we all realize that, wait a minute, who told us that we had to prove ourselves to who? And who said that a villain looks like that and a hero looks like that? And this is what beautiful is. And we're in the very, very privileged business of telling stories. And so gaining the power to say, oh wait, we can reassess those things. We can kick the tires on the American story. And Wizard of Oz is known for that. It has always been the American fairy tale, to sort of dissect that idea and look at through someone else's perspective of what our American story is. To me, this whole exercise of writing a book, of looking at my own life and what my parents told me and reconstructing it so my kids can read this book and say, hey, there is a road.
Right.
It might not be a yellow brick road. It might, and maybe that yellow brick road's not made for you. It was never meant for you. Maybe it's the unbeaten path over there, but you have to keep walking. I would quote that at the end too. There's a quote in The Wizard of Oz. It's like, if you keep walking, at some time you'll reach some place. And I love that because our movies tell us we're gonna have happy endings.
Yeah.
And I think what we learn is, no, there is no ending. It just is always the next day, and you just keep going. And so you have to just keep walking. And that's what I want to teach my children. Hey, you're good. This is a journey. Yes, you're making step up 2 and people are going to judge you for that. Yes, you're going to make step up 3D. Now you're going to think that people lock you into only making dance. You're going to make a Justin Bieber documentary and people are going to laugh at you because they think you went backwards and to make a documentary. But you know what? You just keep walking, and all the things you learned. Oh, in a documentary, truth isn't in how cool the shots are. It's just sitting and watching a boy and his mother interact, and the audience is going to feel that relationship, whether you say nothing at all. They're talking about a totally different subject. Every lesson built that next brick for me, and we built our own yellow brick road to get to Wicked. And I know there's a long way ahead, and I'm excited for that. That there will be movies that never work. There'll be movies that critics and audiences will hate me for. But you know what? I love making things, and my journey is to continue to make things, and that's what I want to show my children through what I'm doing. Yeah.
Totally. And speaking of movies that audiences are going to hate you for, I call it Wikipedia now. I looked up you on Wikipedia.
Oh, I'm in that. Okay.
Wikipedia. There and IMDb lists some certain projects you might be doing next.
Okay. Yes.
I don't know. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor
Dreamcoat, yes, that's one of my favorite musicals. Working with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, or Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber, and Tim Wright. I mean, it's a dream. So we'll see. We're still working on that.
Yeah.
Dana Fox is now writing it for us, who helped write.
Dana
Wicked
Fox was a co-writer. It was an interesting screenwriting credit on Wicked because it's Winnie Holzman who wrote the play, and so it's screenplay by her and Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox. I've never seen a credit like that.
It's interesting.
Got two within the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Winnie, we were very true to what the show, the original book was with Winnie. So we have that, and then we all got together and tried to sort of find the pick points that we could fill in the gaps for the movie. And of course, Winnie was involved in every step of that way, and so we all worked together on doing that. And so I think it's, I don't know how it all works.
All over this.
She's got it.
So
she
cool.
deserves it, by the way.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Winnie is the voice of this, no doubt. Like when we were like, how would an Aussian say? I mean, she is Galinda's voice through and through, and I think Stephen Schwartz is Elphaba's voice through and through, and it's really fun to be in their orbit. It's like the best.
I know she goes back. I have friends. She's friends. I've been at parties where she's been, and she's amazing.
And she created My So-Called Life. Like that is a seminal chapter in especially my generation's life. Even that subversiveness in that show, you can feel that in Wicked, and I love that we got to bring that out a little bit more in the movie.
So cool. Yeah. You may just be producing this Hasbro Play-Doh.
I'm producing and maybe directing.
Wow.
We'll see.
And that's a movie about Play-Doh?
It's a movie about shapes and colors that are about the importance of temporary. How valuable is temporary when we're taught that permanence is the most important thing in the world. There's something really fun and interesting about that. Yeah.
And it's got a built-in audience. Everybody knows Play-Doh.
Yes.
Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Oh yeah, we're in that right now. I'm working with Pasek and Paul, who are doing the music.
Oh my God.
And JJ and Bad Robots with us, and we're doing with Warner's Animation, the Seuss estate. That's the Seuss one, or the places, and so Rob Lieberman is writing the script. Jill Colton is my co-director on it because that's my first animated movie, so I'm learning a lot from her. Yeah. And so we're in it. It's a beautiful one. It's really special.
Wow. And then there's one other one, Britney Spears, who goes back and you read about, you know Britney Spears is part of your life in different ways. The Woman in Me is a biopic, Britney Spears?
Yes. It's, the book, I don't know if you've read it. Michelle Williams does the audiobook. You should listen to it.
Oh, I have not, no, yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, Michelle Williams reading as Britney is incredible. It's a fascinating book, being traveling with Justin Bieber, knowing Ari, and being around this culture, how they treat their stars and how they, as young people, young women, and what we ask of them, I think is dangerous. I think we sort of ignore it, and I think there's interesting lessons to be learned through her story, and we'll see where we go with that. We're very, very early. I can't say too much, but it's a fascinating story.
It's interesting. I know I told you something when I was talking to you after CinemaCon. I asked you about Bye Bye Birdie, which the very first time I heard of Jon M was in trades and things. They were going to remake Bye Bye Birdie, one of my all-time favorite movie musicals. I love it. I've seen it a zillion times. I could do it right now. And I thought, and he's going to do a hip-hop version. This is a great idea. Sony had it, obviously. It was Columbia Picture.
I was pay or play on it.
You were pay or play, which was really interesting to me. At you hadn't made movies.
I was 22 years old. I didn't even know what pay or play was.
Yeah, pay or play. You get paid if they make the movie or not.
Yes.
Wow.
I can't even get that today.
But to have it then, that's in this book, is really amazing. And what you went through, because this was everything for you to do this. And you were meeting with studio heads Amy Pascal. Mm-hmm. Before that, Lucy Fisher and Doug Wick. I bring this up because there is symmetry between the three of you, because this whole project, they're all involved in a way.
Yeah, it was. I'm really grateful that I came into this business really young. I had no idea. I'm sort of a blank slate. I didn't even know how to make a feature. I'd never done an independent feature. I didn't do music videos. I hadn't done a commercial before. So suddenly I get this opportunity. Spielberg is shepherding me in. He bought a project from us as well. and I get to learn from Amy Pascal,
This is
and I get
amazing.
basically my Hollywood parents are Doug Wick and Lucy Fisher teaching me how to pitch, what the process is. Rob Marshall they were doing Memoirs of a Geisha, so he was in the office, and because Doug Wick and Lucy Fisher, and so I would see him at the copy machine. We'd talk about musicals, and it was just a magical time. It was different in those days. Their deals were different in those days. It was beautiful. I learned how to true leadership, true creative leadership, true mavericks who were pushing the boundaries and also intelligent, but also embraced movies that tried to get as many people to the movies as possible. So it was a great time. And then years later, it doesn't go, and those are heartbreaking moments.
Because you put so much into it, and it was going to be great.
Oh, it was
a movie that got away.
Absolutely. I drew all these storyboards for it. They probably thought I was crazy because I drew all these storyboards for all the musical numbers, and I would present them, and I didn't get a storyboard artist to draw them. I just my own stick figures, and I was so excited about them. And every so often, it felt like they were going to shut down the movie. I'd pitch them a new thing, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We want to see that." So you never know.
The saddest part of that story is in this, where you finally go in, you say, "I feel like I'm going to the principal, Amy Pascal, the chairperson of Sony," and she finally says, "No, too much. Can't make it. For that money." Your heart sinks, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to process that because that's like 3 years later, or 2.5 years, 3 years later, and for those 3 years, you're working every day.
Yeah.
And people are asking you, "Oh, wow, you're a success. I saw you in the trades." And there's articles written about me of like reinventing the musical, and I'm going to USC to speak.
Yeah.
And the embarrassment of like, what do I tell these people that it never went? Am I one of those stories? Because you hear those stories like, oh yeah, everyone gets their chance, and then they never actually make the movie. I can't be one of those stories. There's no way I'm one of those stories. And I remember my girlfriend at the time was going to USC, so I dropped her off, and I'd spoken at school before. Drop her off, and she goes into class, and I'm in the loading dock of USC, and I see everyone going to class, and I was like, if they only knew that I just lost this movie, like how embarrassing would that be? And I just wept. I hadn't wept in, I don't know, 15 years before that. And I just felt so down. Like I just missed it. What am I going to do? I have nothing else to offer this world.
Oh,
it was
man.
crazy. It was crazy.
That's why I wondered, because follow the yellow brick road. You use that, and you go ahead and look where you are.
You just keep
now.
walking somehow,
Lessons
some way.
to be learned. And before we go, Viewfinder.
Yes.
It's a great title.
Oh, thank you.
And I know it's very much explained in this what that means to you.
Yeah. When you go into that viewfinder, everything silences, and it's the closest point to the audience because that's what they're going to see in the theater. 30 feet high above them, and I love that quiet moment because that's the only thing that matters in that, and it also allows you to sort of. What I found is also when I was young, it gave me a separation point. It was almost a mask, and the closer you make that connection between you and the lens over time, and as you discover yourself and you find yourself, the more closer the audience will be to you. And so it's been a beautiful place to live in that viewfinder over time.
So cool. Well, Wicked continues, and this is like a great film. So I'm so happy people are embracing it.
Thank you. And thank you for all the support over the years. I feel very lucky growing up in this business and having people watch all my movies and keeping me around just long enough to learn all the ropes and the things so I could get to Wicked. That is not normal. And so I feel like I also was raised here in Hollywood.
Yeah. I think so. Well, thank you for joining us behind the lens, Jon M. Chu. Thanks, man.
Thanks. It's fun. Appreciate it.